All right, welcome to Big Time Basketball, our basketball segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'll be your host once again, James. I'm joined by Mete, Nate, and Terry. What's up, guys?
So,
All right, in today's episode, we're just going to jump right into the NBA playoffs. There's a lot to cover. We'll recap the play-in. We'll recap the early portion of each series, and we'll just sort of project what we see for each series, and then we'll end it off with a preview of the upcoming games. So let's just hop right into it, taking a look at the play-in. Let's look at the 9-10 game in the East. That was the Indiana Pacers against the Charlotte Hornets. The Pacers come out on top, 144 to 117. That game was a blowout. Nate, let me get to you first on this. Did we expect to see this from the Pacers?
I didn't expect the Pacers to blow out the Hornets. I actually thought the Hornets would beat the Pacers before.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how this happened. Just taking a look at the top scorers in each category here, we have point leaders Miles Bridges for the Hornets, O'Shea Brissett for the Pacers with 23 each. Miles Bridges also led in rebounds for the Hornets with 8, and Domantas Sabonis, 21 rebounds. He really had his way there at the rim. Terry, let me ask you, was Sabonis pretty much the reason this team won?
I feel like it's just a mix between the scoring from the veterans and new guys like O'Shea Brissett and them just controlling the boards over the younger Charlotte Hornets team. Sabonis is a big reason to why, just due to the fact that he had over 20 rebounds that night. And I guess comparing the result from that game to like all of our predictions from the last episode, I feel like we underestimated the Pacers team.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Sabonis even added 9 assists to lead his team, and Terry Rozier led the Hornets with 6 assists. And Mete, let me just get to you on the Hornets. I think this team has a bright future, but what do you think of this team heading into next year?
Like you said, they definitely have a bright future with them having such a young roster. It sucks that they got blown out this game because I was expecting them to win here, but looks like they're not ready yet.
Yeah, I had to give some love to the Pacers last episode because you guys were all on the Hornets side. So it was good that they did come through. And speaking of another team I had to defend last episode, the Boston Celtics, they also came through against the Washington Wizards in the 7-8 game to clinch the 7th seed. This time I'll get to you first, Mete. Did we expect to see this big result from Boston?
Personally, I didn't expect it because I thought Westbrook and Beal could carry, but it turns out that Tatum was the one who carried. Like, he was phenomenal this game. 50 points, very efficient, and yeah, Boston got it done.
Yeah, just looking at the stats, 50 points for Jason Tatum. On the other side, Bradley Beal only had 22, so a little less than his usual point output. Russell Westbrook, 14 rebounds. Tristan Thompson for the Celtics led them with 12 rebounds. And then Bradley Beal and Marcus Smart both led their teams with 6 assists. And Nate, just getting to you, I don't know, what did Washington not do in this game as far as whether it's Bradley Beal or Westbrook or just as a team, and what's the reason they didn't win?
I guess it's kind of hard to say. I guess just kind of trying to see. I think Jason Tatum was just really good. Kemba Walker was also really good. And I think the Wizards were good as well, but I guess it's just kind of like a situation where the Celtics just kind of, they just happened to kind of dig deep and they were able to pull away from the Wizards.
Yeah, it really seemed like the Celtics were able to contain Bradley Beal. I know he normally goes off for at least 30 almost every game. I believe he was the second leading scorer behind Steph Curry this year. So, I mean, this guy can put up points. There's no question, but it seemed like Jason Tatum was the better player. And I guess, Terry, just getting to you on this, How does the loss of Jaylen Brown really affect this Boston team going forward?
It affects them just for the fact that it gives a little bit of pressure off of Tatum's shoulders, and it gives a lot of pressure off of Kemba Walker's shoulders. For Tatum, we all know that he can basically score from anywhere on the court. And with Kemba Walker, on the other hand, we do know that recently he has struggled with some of his injuries. And with Jaylen Brown, you can see him being effective on both ends of the court, whether it's just finding the open shot or clogging a passing lane on defense.
Yeah, I mean, Boston, they've definitely looked different without Jaylen Brown. I mean, I believe he was an all-star this year, so he was pretty much a big part of their success. And I guess we'll have to see. I know their series has already started, but we'll definitely have to see if they can get some wins moving forward without him. Just looking into the West play-in games, the 9-10 here, it was the Memphis Grizzlies beating the San Antonio Spurs 100-96. Terry, let me get to you first. The Spurs really dug a hole for themselves early in this game, and they really had to try and come back, but it was pretty much too little, too late at that point. I know the Spurs are your team. I know you said you didn't believe in them, and I guess this is clear why you didn't fully have faith in them. I guess what can they do moving into next season?
Moving into next season, just because it's San Antonio and not a lot of key free agents want to come to San Antonio to play at the Alamo. You got to build through the draft, find guys that are in free agency that are trying to make it their way back into the league. Um, with guys like Gorgie Dang and I believe Drew Banks, those guys you're going to have to rely on at the center position, and possibly you're going to have to find a guy in the draft to build your front court around. Jakob Poeltl is a great center at the moment, but the problem is when you play a guy like Jonas Valanciunas, as I mentioned in the last episode, he's just capable of grabbing 20 rebounds on your team, and that's what he did tonight. It was basically Jonas Valanciunas grabbing every board, whether it's on offensive side or the defensive side, and he was just bullying Jakob Poeltl. And then you have guys like DeMar DeRozan, DeJounte Murray. They have to be more effective with their field goals. Murray, I think he went 4 for 17, and then DeMar, he went 5 for 21. And if those are your two guys in the backcourt, you're hoping for better shot selection, and unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at some of the stats here, your leaders, Dylan Brooks, he's been playing really solid for the Grizzlies, 24 points to lead them. DeMar DeRozan with 20 for the Spurs. Your rebound leaders, DeJounte Murray, 13 for the Spurs, and Jonas Valanciunas had 23 rebounds for the Grizzlies. And then DeJounte Murray also led the Spurs in assists with 11, and John Morant had 6 for the Grizzlies. So, Mete, let me get to you on this here. I know you're a big fan of Jonas Valanciunas. He pretty much dominated, especially in the early part of this game. I know everyone talks about John Morant being the main guy in Memphis, but it really looks like they're using Valanciunas to sort of build their offense around. What do you think about that?
I'm very happy with the way Memphis is using Valanciunas because when he was a Raptor, I always believed he was very underrated. He'd be getting like 20 minutes around there a game, even though he's our starter. And this game, he had 37, I think. Against the Jazz, he had like 39 minutes. And like I said, I'm very happy to see them utilize him more in Kotan because he's very underrated.
Yeah, and Nate, just getting to you, I guess in terms of the Spurs, what can they sort of use as a learning experience? I know that DeRozan's always had that tag that he's pretty much frozen in the playoffs. Um, uh, I don't know, what does he need to do to sort of get rid of that?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I guess you could say maybe just better shot selection. He's known as kind of like a mid-range specialist, so I I think he has the ability to kind of score from outside a little bit more. Maybe he could kind of vary that, or they could kind of restructure the team in such a way that they have people who can score out on the outside, kind of create more space a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. And just moving into the next play-in game, it was the 7-8 game in the West. The LA Lakers against the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers won by a score of 103-100. Just taking a look at some of the stats here. Steph Curry led the Warriors with 37 points. Anthony Davis added 25 for the Lakers. Kevon Looney, 13 rebounds for the Warriors, and Anthony Davis had 12 for the Lakers. Draymond Green led his team with 8 assists, and LeBron James led his with 10. And Mete, I'll get to you first on this game. What did you like from the Lakers here? Why did they get the win?
The Lakers, they got the win because Anthony Davis and LeBron were on their game. LeBron with the triple-double, Anthony Davis with the double-double, and they also got some help from Caruso off the bench, which is always nice. The thing with the Lakers, you know that Davis and LeBron will carry, and then you're gonna have to have like a third player chip in, like a Schroeder, Drummond, or Kuzma, or even Harrell, but they're not very consistent. I think that's the one problem they have right now.
Yeah, for sure. And sort of just looking at Golden State, I think one thing I noticed in the game was that the moment Steph Curry got off the court, they pretty much just didn't have a reliable scorer. So like they just pretty much let the Lakers back into the game at that point, and it was really tough. So Nate, let me get to you on this. I guess with Klay Thompson coming back next year, do you think this makes the Warriors team better, and how much better?
It definitely makes the Warriors better. How much better is kind of hard to say because I guess Klay Thompson, he can score, I guess, by himself. He was able to make plays against the Raptors in the finals. But I think for the most part, the Warriors pretty much run through Steph Curry. So they'll be better, but it's hard to say how much better.
Yeah, I know definitely a lot of other injuries really hurt them. No James Wiseman in this game, no Kelly Oubre. Andrew Wiggins did play very well for them. He added 21 points in this game. And I'll just get to you, Terry. We'll talk about the Lakers here. They really didn't look like they were at their best in this game. I feel like at their best, they would have won by a more convincing score over this Warriors team. But what do the Lakers need to do to sort of get back to the way they were playing last season in the playoffs?
If you're trying to do that, just get off to a better start. It was pretty notable, like in the first half, that they were pretty sluggish coming out of the gate, especially with their two key stars, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Dennis Schroeder as well. Having said that, just get off the better starts, and then you'll be winning in more convincing fashion.
Yeah, for sure. And just moving into the 8-9 playing game for the East. Speaking of not getting off to a good start, the Pacers really didn't get off to a good start in this game. They ended up getting blown out by the Wizards, 142-115. I know that we were all mesmerized by the way that Sabonis pretty much handled the Hornets, that we were really favoring the Pacers in this game, but ultimately they just couldn't get it done. Just looking at the scoring leaders here, Bradley Beal added 25 for the Wizards. Brogdon led his team with 24 points. Domantas Sabonis added 11 rebounds for the Pacers, and Daniel Gafford had 13 for the Wizards. Sabonis had 10 assists for the Pacers to go with Russell Westbrook with 15 for the Wizards. And this is a game that both Westbrook, well, mostly Westbrook, but also Bradley Beal dominated. So I'll get to you first this time, Terry. This Wizards team, are they overrated or are they underrated heading into the first round?
I believe they're playing against, who is it? The
Philly.
Sixers, right?
Yeah, Philly, yeah.
If it's Philly, I wouldn't consider them overrated. I would consider them underrated just due to the fact that a lot of people are going to look at their inconsistencies a lot more than them being hot in the last, I believe, month of the season. Having said that, I mean, there are guys on this team aside from Westbrook and Beal that can help them out when they get hot. Hachimura at the power forward spot. Then you have also got that Latvian sniper known as Davis Bertans. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Daniel Gafford did have a coming out game where he had 13 rebounds and I believe 15 points. Alongside with that, there are a lot of young guys on this Wizards team, and I feel like they might be stealing 1 or 2 games from the Sixers squad.
Yeah, for sure. They have been looking good. And Nate, let me get to you on the Pacers. No Karis LeVert in the play-in for them. No Miles Turner. I mean, they're missing some key pieces. I guess what can we look forward to? I guess next year if this Pacers team is healthy and they get those guys back.
I mean, I think if the Pacers are healthy, we might be able to see them in the playoffs. I think the Pacers, they have really decent bench depth already. They were just missing Miles Turner and Karis LeVert, so they should be a lot better next year for sure.
Yeah, and getting to you, Mete, once again on the Wizards. Russell Westbrook, he sort of has that tag also that he doesn't play well in the playoffs. I guess what can he do in the first round to sort of just get that off his back?
Um, Honestly, that's kind of an unfair way to look at it. I feel like Westbrook is a great player, and basketball is a team sport, so the game just doesn't fall on one person. And one thing I want to add about the Wizards is I really don't understand why Daniel Gafford's not their starting center right now. He's a great defender. He'll shoot at the rim, so he doesn't take stupid shots. And they're already playing him more than Alex Len, who's their starter. So I feel like they need to make that change.
Yeah, I know Alex Len hasn't worked for a lot of teams now, and I know coming into Washington, he sort of had a breakout. But yeah, I think you are right. Gafford does need to start there. I guess maybe they'll figure it out in the first round. Maybe if things don't go their way at the rim, because we know how strong of a team Philly is in the front court. So let's just get to the 8-9 matchup in the West. The Memphis Grizzlies actually upset the Golden State Warriors 117-112. Golden State was the higher seed coming into this matchup, but ultimately lost their playoff spot. Steph Curry did lead the Warriors, though, with 39 points. Ja Morant added 35 for the Grizzlies. Jonas Valanciunas, 12 rebounds for the Grizzlies, and Draymond Green had 16 for the Warriors. Ja Morant, 6 assists for the Grizzlies, and Draymond Green adding his 10 assists for Golden State. So, Nate, let me get to you first on this. I guess we were all thinking the Warriors were going to win this, but I guess what happened here? How did the Grizzlies win?
Um, I mean, I thought the Warriors would have won as well, but I noticed the Warriors still have a lot of do not plays. They have a lot of people who are out, so that might have been a factor as well. There are, I guess, a lot of players on the Grizzlies. They had really good games. Grayson Allen had 12 points. Desmond Bane had 10 points. So I think the Grizzlies, they were just really good all around this game.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess Terry, getting to you about Golden State here. It looks like Draymond Green played really, really well in this game. Steph Curry, of course, dropping 39 points, but I guess the rest of this team, they're just missing players overall. I guess what was the main issue for them in this game? Like, what is it about Memphis that they just couldn't beat?
I feel like their rotation is a little bit more, well, as Nathan said, they have guys missing, and I believe they probably only played like 7 or 8 guys this game. A majority of them playing, I believe, over 30 minutes a night, or not a night, but that game. Um, as we know, Kelly Oubre, he's out with a wrist problem. I'm not 1,000% sure what happened there. And we all know the story with Klay Thompson. I just feel like next year that if you add those 2 guys to their roster, they won't have a problem just beating the Memphis Grizzlies. And not to forget, James Wiseman is on this team as well. So I feel like the rotation was just lacking this game.
Yeah, for sure. And Mete, just getting to you once again on the Warriors and specifically Steph Curry. Does him not making the playoffs hurt his MVP odds this year?
I don't think it should. I think they're not considering the play-ins towards the MVP award, like the regular season award. They should just look at the regular season, and yeah, I feel like Curry had a great year. Honestly, he could be MVP due to the fact that without him, they're just like they're not very good. They got blown out by the Raptors by like 50 or 60 when he was resting. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy how much he means to that team, especially this year with all the injuries. And yeah, I think he should be considered for MVP, but ultimately that's decided by whoever is picking for that award. And now let's just recap some of the games that happened in round one here. Let's start here with the first game on Saturday. We had the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Miami Heat 109-107. I believe Chris Middleton hit a game-winning shot in this game to secure the W for the Bucks. Looking at some of the stats, yeah, Middleton did lead this team in points with 27. Goran Dragic had 25 for the Heat. Bam Adebayo, 12 rebounds for Miami, with Giannis adding 18 for the Bucks. Jimmy Butler, 8 assists to lead his team in Miami, and Chris Middleton adding 6 for the Bucks. Mete, I'll start here with you. I don't know, who did you think was going to win this game? And I guess, were you surprised by it being really close?
I'm not surprised that it was close, but I think I had the Heat winning this game. The Bucks, like they shot 5 for 31 and they still won from three, so that's pretty crazy. Like you said, Middleton hit a very nice shot at the end, and this was such an exciting game to watch.
Yeah, these two teams are pretty evenly matched, I'd say. Like their records don't really tell how close these teams are, as the Heat were pretty much injured for a large portion of the season. I guess, Nate, I'll get to you on that. With Miami looking a lot healthier, is it possible for them to make a run in this series if they can get things back on track?
It's possible, but it's going to be a lot tougher to make it into the Eastern Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals this year, because I mean, the Bucks are beatable by the Heat, but they also have to worry about the 76ers and the Nets this year. So, I mean, beating the Bucks would be a good sign for sure, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, for sure. And Terry, let me get to you actually on Milwaukee. I assume they really had to win this game because I know that everyone talks about them choking in the playoffs. Do you think they have a chance, I guess, to get through this series and possibly push the Nets in the next series?
I feel like they have a chance just due to the fact that Giannis and the Bucks don't have that pressure of being the number one seed or even that main focal point in the Eastern Conference. This year, it's Brooklyn and Philly that are taking that spotlight. And I feel like with that being said, the Bucks will fly under the radar, as Mente was mentioning last episode. Um, as for pushing Brooklyn, we still need to see what happens in their series with Boston and how they deal with Jason Tatum defensively. Um, but with the confidence of them passing this first round matchup, I feel like they do have a chance. But it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, for sure. I think that any team that sort of gets out of this series will definitely put some pressure on Brooklyn. It's just going to depend on how much. And moving into the next game here, this one was a big upset. I don't think we expected a 10-point win but by Dallas over the Clippers. Sorry about that. Yeah, 113-103. Mete, I'll start here with you. Um, this what Luka did in this game was amazing. I don't know how the Clippers weren't able to contain him.
Yeah, Luka did amazing, like you said. Triple double from him. It's kind of become the norm for him. And other than that, like the Mavericks were insane this game. They were hitting a lot of threes. They got 4 threes from Finney Smith, 5 from Hardaway Jr. And yeah, they were just making their threes today.
Yeah, I mean, Luca really had a breakout in this game. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, all those to lead his team. You got Kawhi Leonard also leading his team in every category, 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. So, Terry, I'll get to you sort of on Kawhi. I guess he did as much as he could. I guess he just needs more support at this point.
Support in their starting five, just due to the fact that Marcus, is it Marcus Morris Sr.? Or
Marcus Morris, yeah,
Marcus Morris Sr. He was, I don't want to say inconsistent, but I mean, if you go 0 for 6 from 3 and you're only putting up 4 points in the starting rotation, I mean, you're going to be needed to do a lot more, especially in playoff time. Ivan Zubac, he needs to be more active on the boards. And on top of that, 8 points. It is what they expect coming from Ivan Zubac. He's not expected to be scoring over 15 points a night. He's more there for that center presence for the team. Having said that, you got guys like Ibaka and probably Nicholas Batum that are going to be carrying a lot more of that pressure from the bench to the rotation when their number does get called upon. And having said that, I mean, the rest of the team was good. I mean, Paul George, 23 points on, well, I can't even say efficient shooting if you consider 8 for 18 effective. Patrick Beverly, 10 points. And then you got Rajon Rondo and Batum with 11 points respectively, both. It is the first game of the series, so I just expect the squad to split up the first 2 games at home. And hopefully we can see a nice matchup between these 2 teams.
Yeah, this could go 6 or 7 games. I definitely see that happening. And then Nate, just getting to you, what did you think about the Dallas depth scoring in this game? Because I think that really helped them as well.
Yeah, I think that when this team is like really playing together, basically this is like a perfect team in terms of chemistry when they're hot. Doncic, he has really good passing. He's a really good scorer. So it's really tough to kind of just think of like a scheme like right off the bat that you can cheese the Mavericks with. If you try to do some kind of defense on them, they'll probably try to figure something out. And when everybody's shooting their threes, they're really hard to stop.
Yeah, for sure. The Dallas played a really good game here. It's going to be tough for them to replicate it in game 2, but we'll definitely have to see what the Clippers sort of come out with in terms of a game plan. But just moving into the next game, it was the Brooklyn Nets beating the Boston Celtics 104-93. So, I mean, it wasn't too big of a blowout. I think Boston stayed competitive for most of this game. I guess just looking at the leaders here, Kevin Durant, 32 points. I mean, he had a big game. Jason Tatum to lead his team, Boston, with 22. Tristan Thompson to lead the Celtics with 10 rebounds. Kevin Durant had 12 for the Nets. Jason Tatum added 5 assists for the Celtics, and James Harden had 8 for Brooklyn. I guess I'll get to you first this time, Terry. I guess on Brooklyn's dominance in this game, this big 3 is really making a big difference, all being in the lineup.
They should. I mean, we can arguably say that they have 3 of the top 15 players in the league. And when you combine the scoring prowess of Kevin Durant and then Kyrie Irving being able to create a shot and then James Harden being the playmaker on this team, you can expect big things. And let's not forget, you got guys like Joe Harris that aren't going to get enough shine just due to the fact that, I mean, these 3 guys are going to be the stars of this team if they, not even the stars, but the main focal point of this team if they make it to the finals.
Yeah, for sure. They played really well. And Mete, let me get to you on Boston here. I know this was a breakout game for Robert Williams. He had 9 blocks in this game. And I mean, Boston did a pretty good job defending. Normally, Brooklyn's well over 120 points. So I guess what do you think Boston can do going forward? And what do you think about Robert Williams?
Um, Robert Williams, I think he's a great center. He's an amazing defender, and today or yesterday he proved it with his 9 blocks. He also takes smart shots. He's easily shooting at the rim, and he can rebound. Um, so what do I think the Celtics can do? Honestly, I don't even know. They had such a great start this game. I thought they could make it a game out of this, and then in the second half, they just got blown out. Um, I guess they could be better on offense because 93 points against the Nets is not going to cut it. They've got to be making their threes and shooting better shots.
Yeah, for sure. And Nate, I was actually going to ask you about that. Brooklyn finally played defense for once this year. I guess what did they do to sort of contain Boston, or was it just Boston's lack of scoring in your mind?
I think it's a little bit of both. I guess they are kind of some of the players are underrated in defense. Like James Harden, he's known for letting people blow by him, but he does have his moments where he can really put the clamps down and make it hard for the other person to score. And I guess it's kind of like for the Celtics, it's kind of a similar story of they're missing Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is a really good two-way player. He can stop a lot of players in this league, and he's a really good scorer as well. And I think that could have, if Jaylen Brown was in, I think it would have been a lot more competitive in this game.
Yeah, I definitely think Boston probably would have kept it within one score if they did have Jaylen Brown. But yeah, that series is definitely going to be tough for them. And then just moving into the last game of Saturday, we have the Portland Trailblazers beating the Denver Nuggets 123 to 109. Just looking at some of the leaders here, Damian Lillard, 34 points for Portland. Jokic also had 34 points for the Nuggets. Yusuf Nurkic, 12 rebounds to lead Portland, and Jokic had 16 rebounds to lead the Nuggets. Damian Lillard added 13 assists to lead his team, and Campazzo had 5 assists for the Nuggets. So I guess, Nate, I'll get to you first here on Portland. It looks like Lillard had a good game, but they also got a lot of support behind him. What do you think about the secondary scoring for this team?
It was really good this game. My question was because they have a really good starting five, and then they also have Cantor and Carmelo. My thinking was, well, okay, that's like 7 good players, but with 7 good players, you need to kind of make sure that you can, I guess, keep the pace going for really long stretches, and they were able to do that this game. So I think the question now is, can they do this for 7 games?
Yeah, like you said, they really made sure to do it this game. And Terry, let me get to you on the Nuggets here. I know a lot of people said Nikola Jokic. I believe, including yourself, said Jokic is the MVP of this season. I mean, he clearly played like it. He clearly led his team in most scoring categories. I don't know. How do you feel the support was behind him in this game, and maybe which players could probably step up to sort of help him out?
It's honestly hard to say. Uh, the Nuggets don't really get a lot of primetime spotlight just due to the fact that I feel like small market teams don't have enough shine in this league. Uh, if you want to criticize some things, I mean, 1 for 10 from 3 for Michael Porter Jr. I mean, it's not going to cut it in playoff time. Uh, aside from that, you might want to hope for more scoring from Compazio and maybe Rivers, especially if they're getting starter minutes. Aside from that, I mean, I just feel like it was Portland's night.
Yeah, Portland really did come to play, and I know Mete, you talked about how much you like this Portland lineup. I guess what does Portland have over Denver in your mind that makes them a better team?
This is Portland's best roster they've had in maybe a decade. Like they're pretty deep. I know Nate was saying they only have like 7 good players, but I like Anthony Simons. He was great this game, making threes, 4 or 5 from three. Even Hollis Jefferson's not too bad. He's a high energy guy. Derrick Jones Jr., a good two-way player as well, I think. And Giles even, he's a young player who I think has a lot of potential. So I think it just depends on Terry's thoughts if he wants to expand his bench. But I know a lot of coaches like tightening their rotation in the playoffs, so I can see why he only ran 8 players this game.
Yeah, it really looks like Portland stepped it up in game one, and I guess we'll see what Denver can do coming out in game two. All right, just moving into Sunday's games now. Taking a look at the first game here, the Philadelphia 76ers beating the Washington Wizards 125 to 118. Just looking at some of the leaders here. Tobias Harris led the Sixers with 37 points. Bradley Beal led the Wizards with 33. Beal also added 10 rebounds to lead his team, with Ben Simmons adding 15 for the Sixers. Russell Westbrook led his team with 14 assists, and Ben Simmons had 15. So, I mean, Ben Simmons had a big line in this game, 6, 15, and 15. I know maybe not the point output that you want, but he was great all around the court. So, Mete, let me get to you first on this. The Sixers really look like one of the best playoff teams in the East after this game.
Yeah, like you said, Simmons had a great game. 6 points is honestly fine because they have a lot of depth and they can get scoring elsewhere. Only concern with Simmons is he needs to be able to space the floor, so even like a mid-range jumper would be really nice for him. Like I said, they're very deep. Seth Curry, great three-point shooter. Embiid is a top 3 MVP candidate. Tobias Harris had a crazy game here, and yeah, I expect Philly to win this series convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, like we didn't even talk about Embiid's 30 points here. Like they had 2 high-end scorers in this game. I guess Terry, just getting to you on this Philly team. Um, Depth scoring was great for them. I know Dwight Howard didn't really play as well as most people expected. He was a minus 13 on the floor. I guess maybe what can improve from Philly's bench going forward, because they are a top team, but what can sort of put them over the top?
It's a good question. I mean, if you're looking for scoring output from Shake Milton and Maxi both, that would be considered an improvement. We already know George Hill is going to be that vet on the bench along with Dwight Howard to just calm those younger guys down. Matisse Thybulle, I mean, he went 0 for 2, even though when you do bring him onto the court, you're expecting him to become a defensive presence and you're not really relying on him for his shot. Aside from that, I mean, eventually the game's going to come to them, so don't force them being in the play as much. I mean, with guys like Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Ben Simmons, your shots are going to be coming. I mean, for example, look at Seth Curry. He had 13 attempts tonight, and on that he had 15 points. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're not, as some people may go and say. Having said that,
Pretty
what
much
was I
it.
trying to say?
Wait, was that pretty much it? Okay, yeah. Nate, let me get to you now. Yeah, just looking at the Wizards here, I know we talked about. I know Mete talked especially about Alex Len. He did have a good game here. 12 points for him. I guess what do the Wizards need to do to even have a chance in this series? Because I mean, Beal can just put up as many points. Westbrook can just put up as many rebounds, assists, but it just doesn't seem to be working. So I guess what do the Wizards need to do in your mind, Nate, to sort of get it done?
I think the Wizards, they played pretty well, even though the score was pretty big. I guess the only thing would kind of be to kind of tighten up your field goal percentage. I think most people, they had a pretty decent field goal percentage, but I noticed that Ish Smith was 3 from 9. If he was able to kind of increase his field goal percentage to maybe like 50 or 60%, I think that the score would have been a lot closer. I also noticed that a lot of people didn't play, so maybe expanding the roster a little bit, maybe give some guys some more minutes.
Yeah, I mean, people have always complained with Westbrook. I mean, he went 7 for 17 in this game. Maybe he should sacrifice some of those shot attempts that he's missing to maybe give some other guys some looks that could maybe work out in his favor. I know Bradley Beal was solid from the field, so maybe give him some more looks. Hachimura's also been very solid. Yeah, but it is going to be tough for them against the Sixers team for sure. Or I think it's even going to be tough for them to take game two. I think the Sixers are definitely going to improve on what they did in this game. Speaking of a team that really needs to improve in their next game, the LA Lakers losing to the Phoenix Suns 99-90. Mete, I'll actually get to you on this one first. I know you had the Lakers in this matchup. I guess what did you see in the Lakers and what did they not do in this game?
They just weren't good enough. Like I was saying at the playing game, LeBron and AD usually carry. This game they weren't so good. Especially Anthony Davis, he only shot 31% from the field, and that's just not good enough. And then, like I was saying before, it's the third player that's gonna have to chip in. They didn't get that, and so I feel like I've been noticing a trend with this Lakers team. Even last year, they lost game one to Portland and to Houston, I think. So maybe game one's just not their thing.
Yeah, that's one thing about the Lakers is they just, I guess as of late, LeBron and AD haven't looked like their old selves from last year. I guess just looking at the stats here, LeBron did still lead this Lakers team with 18 points. Devin Booker adding 31 for the Phoenix Suns. So sorry, 34 for the Phoenix Suns. Big game for him. Um, Andre Drummond added 9 rebounds to lead the Lakers, with DeAndre Ayton adding 16. So he really dominated in boards there. And just looking at the Lakers again, LeBron led this team with 10 assists. Devin Booker had 8. I believe Chris Paul went down with an injury. That's a big blow for this team. I'll actually get to you, Nate, on that. What does Chris Paul being injured really mean for this Phoenix team?
I mean, he brings, I think, a lot of playmaking. He's a good scorer. He raises the ceiling of the entire team. We saw just this season. He brought a lot of impact. I think last season, like the Phoenix Suns, they were not even close to the playoffs, and now they have the potential to kind of be a deep playoff threat. So, without Chris Paul, I think the Phoenix Suns become a really beatable team.
Yeah, they were still able to hold on for the win here in this game without Chris Paul there at the end. But Terry, I'll just get to you on this. I mean, can the Lakers rebound in game two? That's pretty much the simplest way I can put it.
As to what you guys were just mentioning a minute ago, Chris Paul is going to be out. And having said that, your bench reserves behind Chris Paul are basically Cameron Payne and Javon Carter. They're going to be looking to Devin Booker to basically handle combo guard duty, whether it's just creating a shot when he brings the ball up the court or just establishing a play for guys like Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton down in the paint, or maybe a corner three for Jake Crowder. If not the Suns, if the Lakers can come back, game two would be the night.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think the Lakers should be able to rebound. I know, like Mete said, they struggle in game one sometimes, but they should be able to come out stronger the next game. Let's look at a really close game here. The Atlanta Hawks beating the New York Knicks 107-105. Trae Young hitting the game-winning shot in this game. He had 32 points to lead the Hawks. Alec Burks had 27 for the Knicks. Clint Capella adding 13 rebounds to lead the Hawks. And Julius Randle had 12 for the Knicks. Trae Young led this team in assists with 10. And Derrick Rose for the Knicks with 5. So Actually, Terry, I will get to you first on the Knicks. They lost this tight game here. I'm just wondering, why did Julius Randle not play over 40 minutes in this game? He's clearly their best player. Do they need to increase his minutes for next game, or what do you think they need to do to sort of get a win in game 2?
Well, do remember that the Knicks were horrible for the past decade or almost a decade. So having said that, guys like Julius Randle, I mean, this is their first playoff game, and then sometimes they do play a little bit more over aggressive compared to the regular season. Yeah, sorry. And sometimes it's just those first time jitters. I mean, RJ Barrett and Julius Randle did have a poor first half. Uh, Not just them, but the starters in general. It was mostly guys like Derrick Rose and the bench having to pick up the slack. And that's how this New York Knicks team managed to keep it together. Um, Ways that they can probably keep the game closer. Uh, don't guard Trae Young just for the 3-point line. You got to guard him everywhere you go. I mean, he has a very efficient floater, as we saw with his, I believe it was the game-winning shot. And having said that, I mean, if you have guys like Derrick Rose guard him all the way through and not just on 3-point line, like how I believe Alfred Payton was guarding him earlier, I think you'll do a better job. But this is still an inexperienced Knicks team. I still feel like that their defense is going to help them a lot. I just don't know how far they're going to carry them now, just after this first performance.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Alfred Payton. He didn't really help them. He was 0 for 3 on field goals in this game. They took him out of the game quickly after that. Mete, just getting to you. I know you really liked this Hawks team last time when on the podcast. Yeah, they started out strong. How do you think they can, I guess, just keep it going? And there also, did you like the way their secondary scoring really helped them out in this game?
Um, Honestly, I feel like the secondary scoring needs to pick up. I think outside of Trae Young, the second leading scorer is Bogdanovich, and 18 from your secondary scorer is not enough in today's NBA. But this game, it got them through. Yeah, I feel like I like this Hawks team because they're actually very deep. They can run like a 11, 12-man rotation if they wanted to. They have solid players, and I feel like they're more experienced than the Knicks. Like you guys were saying, they don't have many experienced players. They've got veterans like Lou Williams, Danilo Gallinari, Clint Capella. They've got a lot of playoff experience, so I think that can carry them this series.
Yeah, I definitely like that analysis on the Hawks. Nate, just getting to you. This New York Knicks team has just been good all year. They just surprised many people. I guess what can they do to sort of beat this Hawks team in game 2?
I guess it can be pretty much down to the last shot. So I think they just have to kind of believe that they can beat the Hawks. It's very possible that they can do that. I mean, basically, if Alfred Payton got one field goal, they would have won the game pretty much. So they just have to go into the next game believing that like we pretty much almost got them. We just have to believe in ourselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Moving into the last game for Sunday, we have an upset here. The Memphis Grizzlies beating the number 1 seed Utah Jazz, a 112-109. No Donovan Mitchell in this game for the Jazz. And I mean, this is concerning, considering that this team was able to win a lot of games without Mitchell. And I mean, when it comes down to playoff crunch, the Jazz once again are not getting it done. So Nate, I'll start with you. Is this a real thing for Utah not being able to win in the playoffs? And maybe what can they do in the next game if they don't have Donovan Mitchell again?
I'm thinking that I don't think this is gonna kind of like continuously be a thing in the games coming. Although not having Mitchell is a really big handicap for the Jazz. I think they would have had a way easier time playing this game against the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies were just really good this game. I think Utah is a deeper team in general, but I also noticed a lot of guys didn't play. So I think they just kind of have to, I guess, dust themselves off. Maybe they can add some more guys to the rotation. But I don't think there should be any worries yet.
Yeah, for sure. Mete, let me get to you on the Grizzlies. They had a lot of good scorers in this game. I know Dylan Brooks, he led the team with 31 points. And then I know Utah had Bogdanovich lead them with 29 points. Valanciunas led the Grizzlies in rebounds with 12. Gobert had 15 for the Jazz. John Morant, 4 assists for the Grizzlies, and Mike Conley had 11. So I guess in terms of Memphis, this team looked pretty solid in this game. I know that Utah's definitely going to come back stronger for game 2. I guess what can Memphis do to sort of just try and get another win?
Memphis is honestly a pretty underrated team, I'd say. I think even I predicted them to get swept here, but I've been sleeping on them. They've got a solid roster. Even their bench, Desmond Bain and Grayson Allen, can knock down open threes for them. What can they do? I guess they could just have Dylan Brooks dropping 30 every game. Yeah, he had a great game. It's gonna depend on their third scorer, I feel like, with Morant and Valanciunas usually carrying the scoring load. It's gonna depend on guys like Brooks, maybe Slow-Mo Anderson or Jaren Jackson can step it up in the future and carry them to more victories.
Yeah, I know Jaren Jackson did struggle in this game. He went 1 for 5 from 3 and 2 for 8 from the field, so it was a pretty tough game for him. He was also a minus 19 while he was on the court, so he's definitely someone that needs to turn his game around. But Terry, I'm going to get to you. Should we be concerned about Utah right now, especially if Donovan Mitchell isn't coming back in this series? Is it possible that they do lose to this Grizzlies team?
I hope not. I mean, it's going to be another Memphis Grizzlies team knocking out, I believe, a first seed team. Last time the Memphis Grizzlies knocked them out as a 8th seed, I think it was the Spurs or something like that. Not 1,000% sure. But you're just hoping for better efficiency from guys like Jordan Clarkson. I mean, he went for 5 for 16, 0 for 8 from the 3-point line. I mean, if he's going to be your reserve, that's going to be the microwave, or that guy that you can just rely on for the quick bucket. I mean, he needs to be more efficient. Aside from that, I feel like small market teams that do have, I don't know, or hold that 1, 2, or 3 spot in the Western Conference or Eastern Conference, I feel like they do struggle with like lower seeded teams. We've seen that with Spurs back in the Spurs in general back when they had Kawhi Leonard. They probably dropped maybe 1 or 2 games against the Mavericks or the Grizzlies, for example, and then they just go through them in 6 games. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't come back, I feel like this might be a 7-game series, but we don't know, or we don't have word of what his injury status is right now.
Yeah, it's just really tough for the Jazz right now. They put in the work all year, and it really could blow up in their face here in the first round. So, actually, we'll just use that as a way to just transition to, I guess, a look at the playoff bracket. Let's just take a look here. We'll start with the series we were talking about here in the West, the 1-8, the Utah Memphis series. I know pretty much all of us took Utah to beat, whether it was Memphis or Golden State in this series. Do we want to update our predictions based on what we've seen so far, or do we all still like Utah to win this series? I'll start with you, Mete.
Actually, I had Warriors in 7,
Oh, you
thinking
did?
the
Oh, okay.
Warriors were gonna have this seed. Yeah, I'd like to update that to Utah, and I'll say 6 games. Memphis will get one more.
All right, Nate, what about you? What do you think about this series?
I still think Utah is deep enough to kind of deal with Memphis, so I still kind of like 6 games.
And then Terry, what about you?
It's on 6, but uh, they might struggle with to close out the series. Not 1,000% sure on that though.
Yeah, I know I talked about last time how if Donovan Mitchell is playing for this Jazz team, it would be concerning if they didn't get a sweep here. So if Mitchell does play, I expect them to win every single game that he's in the lineup. So I don't know, maybe Memphis could take one more game before then, but I think the moment he does enter this lineup, this team should just take off, and they'd probably be pretty difficult to stop. So if he does come back for the next game, I think Utah in 5, and I guess just wherever he comes back, that's sort of where I see Utah winning the series. If he doesn't come back at all, this could be a 6 or 7 game series. It's going to be tough to say, but yeah, Memphis looked really strong to start out. So yeah, I still would take Utah in 5 or 6 for sure. Um, let's just move to the 4-5 series here in the West. The Clippers and the Mavericks. Dallas does lead the series 1-0 as we speak. Terry, this time I'll start with you. I believe you had the Clippers winning in this series. Do you still like the Clippers here, or did Dallas sort of change your opinion?
Still like the Clippers just due to the fact that we did mention on the last episode Kawhi and Paul George do have something to prove here. If they don't make it out of the first round, expect a lot of moves happening down in LA. 7 games, maybe 6 games, LA.
All right, Nate, what about you? How do you see this series going?
Um, I feel like Dallas they're just really good against the Clippers for some reason. Um, it seems like whatever the Clippers do, Dallas seems to have an answer for it. So I think it might go to 7 games. I think for now I'm gonna stay Dallas.
Okay, and Mete, do you like the Clippers or Dallas here?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Clippers. I just want to see them play Ibaka more. I noticed he got 13 minutes last game, so I think we need to make that adjustment.
Yeah, I've been backing the Clippers for the most part this year in the West, and I think I'll stay with them. I don't think one game sort of changes my mindset in that sense. I think that they definitely get back into this series, and yeah, they should be able to do it within 6 or 7 games, I think. So, just moving into the 3-6 series, the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. Portland does lead the series 1-0. I know, I believe it was Mete and I were on Portland, and I believe Terry and Nate were on Denver, if I'm not mistaken. Terry, I'll start with you this time. Are you still on Denver after game 1, or do you like Portland in this series?
Still like Denver. They have the MVP for this year, Nikola Jokic. Um, it's going to be a long series, but I do feel like Denver's going to pull out on this one.
All right, Nate, what about you?
I think we'll probably know for sure after game 3, but I'm still wondering how long Portland can kind of keep up their high-powered offense and how much they can push the pace. So if they can't, then it's probably gonna be maybe Denver in like 6 or 7.
All right, and then Mete, are you still on Portland? I assume you probably are after game 1.
Yeah, definitely. My original prediction was in 7, and now I'm thinking maybe it might be a shorter series, honestly. So maybe it could go to like 5 or 6 for Portland, I think.
Well, I know if Portland definitely wins game 2, I believe on Monday night, they'll definitely be in the driver's seat of this series, and then heading home, that pretty much is where they can at least pick up one game and sort of finish it off in maybe 5 or 6. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Portland as well. I like the way this team's playing. They're just putting up key buckets. Their back court's just been dominating, and yeah, there's not much else I can say. I like Portland in 6 or 7 as well. Um, And then the last series in the West, the 2-7, the Phoenix LA Lakers series. I know a lot of us did say Lakers. I believe one of us did say Phoenix. I couldn't remember who, but this time I'll start with you, Mete. Phoenix is up 1-0. Do you still like the Lakers here, or are you maybe leaning towards Phoenix now?
Yeah, I'm still on the Lakers. I think my original prediction was them in 5 games. So after that game, I'm kind of doubting it. Maybe it'll be a longer series. So that's my only change, I guess. Maybe in 6 or 7, the Lakers win.
All right, Nate, how about you? What do you see this series going to, and who do you like?
I think it depends on how healthy Chris Paul is. He really wants to kind of see this series through. So if he's in, it's probably gonna be, I think, maybe 6 or 7 games. I think maybe the Lakers can win, but I'm kind of feeling down Phoenix right now.
And then Terry, how about you? Who do you see winning this series?
Chris Paul's out. I still go with the Lakers. If Chris Paul's in, I still go with the Lakers. Uh, how should I say this? I feel like the Suns will sneak out one more game, whether it's with or without Chris Paul. Who knows? I still got Lakers in maybe 6 games, if anything.
Yeah, I know I was on the Lakers. But if Chris Paul does come back, I definitely like Phoenix a little bit better in this series. I think that they've just been able to, I guess, push the pace on the offense. And I guess the Lakers, they've just been struggling. Even in that game against the Warriors, I just saw they were struggling so much in the first half just to put up buckets. And yeah, this Phoenix team is really solid all the way through. But like I said, if Chris Paul's out, the Lakers should easily be able to win this series. They'll definitely have the advantage in most areas on the court, and it'll just make it really difficult for Phoenix to get anything done. But yeah, assuming Chris Paul doesn't play for game 2, I definitely like the Lakers there. Let's move to the East now. Philly is at the 1 seed and Washington's at the 8 seed. Philly's up in the series 1-0. Terry, I'll start with you here. Is this a Philly sweep, or can Washington even take one game?
Give Washington the gentleman's sweep. Philly in 5. Uh, all you want if you're a Washington fan is like for your team to like go down fighting at this rate. I mean, the first game was what 7-point defeat for Washington. It was like 125, 118. So yeah, 7. Uh, just keep the games close. Show that you're not pushovers. Keep the games tight. Uh, Philly in 5.
All right, Nate, what about you?
I'm thinking they might be able to take one game, but uh, Philly's just a really strong team. They're probably, I think, the second deepest team in the East. So I don't think it's gonna go more than 5 games.
And then Mete, what about you?
So originally we had the Celtics here as the 8th seed, and I had it as a 7 game series for the Sixers. Now that it's the Wizards, I think this might be a sweep.
Yeah, I know I talked about in last week that for some of these teams, if they don't sweep, that comes up as a concern, just for how deep teams can go in the playoffs. Because especially in the NBA, in the first round, a lot of the dominant teams tend to sweep their series, especially if you're sitting at the 1 seed or the 2 seed. So, yeah, I think the concern for Philly would be if they don't sweep this series, that maybe they won't have a chance to go to the finals this year. This team is as dominant as can be in the East, and I think that sweeping would sort of set the tone for, I guess, their matchups going forward. So I think they definitely need a sweep for some momentum heading through the playoffs. And just getting to the 4-5, the Knicks and Hawks. The Hawks are up 1-0. Mete, you had the Hawks winning this series. I think you had them in 7. Do you like that prediction still, or would you change that?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that one. That game was super tight yesterday, so I think it still goes 7 for the Hawks.
And And then Nate, what about you? I know you were on the Knicks. Do you still like the Knicks taking it, or are you on the Hawks?
I still kind of believe in the Knicks a little bit, so I'll take them in 7.
And then Terry, how about you? Are you still with the Knicks, or are you maybe on the Hawks now?
Knicks in 7. I'll stick to all my picks. Hopefully, we saw how loud that crowd was last night in MSG. Having said that, I mean, if the Knicks do clean up on some of their mistakes, I feel like they're gonna get a couple games from this talented Atlanta team.
Yeah, I think I said Knicks in 6 or 7. I'm gonna stick with that as well. This Knicks team, they didn't play too bad last game. They definitely need to sort of sort out their starting rotation, but outside of that, I think that they can definitely win this series. Just getting to the 3-6, Milwaukee and Miami. The Bucks are up 1-0 in this series. Terry, I'll start with you here. Who do you see taking this? I can't remember who you picked in this series, but who do you see taking this?
I think I picked the Bucks. I'm not 1,000% sure. Milwaukee has something to prove, and since they're not one of the powerhouse 2 teams in the East, I feel like they're going to fly under the radar. And I believe it's Bucks in 6. I said last episode, not 1,000% sure.
All right, Nate, what about you?
It looks like the Bucks are playing really good, but the Heat did beat them, I think, last series. So I think it's gonna go to at least 6 games, but I think I'll take the Bucks for now.
And then Mete, what about you? Do you like the Bucks or do you like the Heat?
Yeah, I think my original prediction was Bucks in 7, and I'm gonna stick to that.
Yeah, I like Bucks in 6 or 7 as well. This series should definitely go the distance. I expect Miami to come up next game and grab a win to tie up this series. It's definitely going to be close the rest of the way through. So yeah, but I still think Milwaukee is the better team this year. And then looking at the 2-7, Brooklyn, Boston, I'm just going to go out first of all and say that if Brooklyn doesn't sweep here, then there's a chance that a team like Philly or Milwaukee could take them out later on. I feel like that this is sort of a test series for them to see how good is this team really. And they came out firing in the first game. They started off kind of rough, but then they really came out strong. So I definitely think they can sweep at the most 5 games. So Terry, what do you think?
I gotta agree with you. Brooklyn in 5. If they're really efficient, probably 4. I don't have that much to say. It's basically the same what you guys say. If they don't have a gentleman's sweep or a sweep, you got to look at the holes in the team come next matchup.
All right, Nate, what about you?
I mean, there's always a chance that Tatum can put up 50. He always has that in him. So if he does, they might be able to take a game. But I don't think Tatum will be able to put up 50 or more like every single game. And even then, the Nets will still always have a chance to win, regardless of how much Jason Tatum scores. So probably the Nets in 5.
All right, Mete, how do you feel about this?
With the start that the Celtics had last game, I feel like if they were gonna win any game, it was game 1, and they didn't close it out. So I think this will be a sweep for the Nets.
Yeah, I definitely like the Nets sweeping here. I feel like this is just the start of a long playoff run for them. So let's just transition into the Monday games. Yeah, let's just take a look here. We have the Milwaukee Bucks at home. They're 4.5-point favorites against the Miami Heat. I think I'm gonna side with the Heat for this game. I feel like this is a bounce back game for them. I'll start with you, Mete. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree. I like the Heat this game. They only lost by 2 last game, so I think they can rebound here.
And then Nate, what about you?
I think the Heat are capable of beating the Bucks in game 2.
And to you, Terry?
I hate to agree with everyone, but I feel like it's the Heat. I mean, they're probably gonna have a sour taste in their mouth after Middleton scored that game winner. Having said that, they don't want to go down 2-0 going back to Miami.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement there. And just looking at the next game scheduled for Monday, it's the Portland Trailblazers at the Denver Nuggets. Um, Nuggets are a 1.5 point favorite. This time, Terry, I'll start with you in saying that I guess can the Nuggets bounce back?
They have to. You don't want to go to Portland and be down 2-0. It's essential for Denver to win this game just so they split the series, and it's going to be, a battle of 5 now? If that's the case, having said that, I feel Michael Porter Jr. is going to be more efficient this game. And you said the spread was 1.5?
Yeah, the Nuggets were favored by 1.5.
So basically 2. So yeah, I feel like they're going to win probably not by a landslide, but it's going to be probably within 10 points.
All right, Nate, what about you? Who do you like in this game?
It's pretty much dependent on, I guess, Portland's bench. If they show up, then Portland might be able to take another game, but I'm still kind of feeling the Nuggets on this.
And Mete, who do you like in this game?
I think I'm gonna go with Portland here. Game one, they won 3 or 4 quarters, so they were pretty dominant in that game, and I think they can do it again.
I think I might side with Denver for this game just because, Terry, you were saying about how they really need to get back into the series. They can't let it start slipping away. And they are the home team, so they should be able to bounce back in my mind. I feel like you said, Michael Porter Jr. sort of struggled in the first game. I feel like he'll sort of get it back for game two. And I think that, I guess with Jokic being there, they definitely should be able to pull out this game. Let's actually just look at some of Tuesday's games as well. I know the Brooklyn Nets are 9.5 point favorites over Boston. I don't know. I feel like that Boston should be able to keep it closer in game two. I don't know, Mete, what do you think? Do you think that was Boston's best game, or do you think they'll be able to keep it close here?
Um, yeah, I think they could keep it closer. Tatum, like Nate said, could go off for 50 any day, so Tatum could just score 30 plus and keep it close for the Celtics.
Nate, what about you? Do you see Brooklyn getting a blowout here, or do you see the Celtics keeping it close?
I think the Celtics should be able to keep it close, but it'll be tough because I think this is an away game for them, but they should still be able to do that.
And Terry, what about you?
I feel like Brooklyn's going to win it. Spread was 9.5?
Yeah.
So 10 points. Yeah, Brooklyn's going to win it. I feel like it's going to be within that margin, but I feel like Boston might pull off maybe one victory at home, but that's it.
Yeah, I like Brooklyn winning here as well, and I actually like them blowing out. I believe they won by 11 last game. I believe they can win by at least the same amount this game. We talked about Boston, that being their best first half that they've played against Brooklyn, and I don't know if they can do it again. So I think I might side with Brooklyn here. The Lakers are favored in their matchup by 2 points over the Suns. Terry, I'll start with you. If Chris Paul's out, do the Lakers win this game?
Yes, they do. They need to win it. Because once you go to Staples Center, I feel like that's where you take advantage of this shorthanded Phoenix team.
And Nate, do you like the Lakers in this game?
I think they'll be able to take this game if Chris Paul is out for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I guess, Mete, you're probably going to side with the Lakers as well.
Yeah, I like the Lakers here.
All right. And then the last game for Tuesday, the LA Clippers are 6 point favorites against the Dallas Mavericks. I guess in my right mind, I wanted to take the Clippers, but I can't give them 6 points. I feel like that's too much. So I probably would side with Dallas here. I'll start with you, Mete. Do you like the Clippers to win, and do you like them to win by at least 6?
Yeah, I think they can win in 6, honestly. Like I said, the Mavericks were just on fire from 3, and that's very hard to replicate. So I think the Clippers can win by 6 this game.
And Nate, what about you?
I still think Dallas can keep it close.
All right, Terry, let me just get to you on this matchup. Who do you see taking it, and do you think the Clippers can cover if they win?
I mean, these 4 or 5 matchups are tough to just predict who's going to win. Um, if the Clips are going to win, it's going to be by a little bit more, just due to the fact that they need to prove something in this game, and they don't want to go to Texas and just be down 2-0. That's just too much pressure, especially on the track record of this LA Clipper team. Um, I feel like the Clippers will win it. It might be more than 6, but if Porzingis comes to play, I feel like Dallas may win this one.
Yeah, I think that's why I definitely like the spread here for Dallas. I do like the Clippers winning this game, though. I definitely think that they need to bounce back. And yeah, that's going to be the end of our Fantasy Fanatics podcast, Big Time Basketball. If you like this episode, we have more episodes on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Leave a review for us. Click the bell for notifications, everything like that. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Fan Podcast. We post pics there. We got lots of good stuff on our social media, so definitely check us out. And guys, thanks again, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.